Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of ElitesTV with myself, Mitch Panice. And today I'm delighted to say that joining us we've got Ryan Huddart. Now, I've met Ryan through the NCF Elites Academy. He actually came down to ref one of the ElitesTV episodes.
Where are you, Cavell?
The ball comes in, try and intercept it.
In heaven. Cavell might want to come off.
But when he's not dishing out yellow cards and giving dodgy penalty decisions, he's a goalkeeper for Bromley FC. Ryan's been in a variety of youth academies, and as a youth football show, I want to pick his brains about his time at Arsenal in the youth setup, the under-23 team, and in and around the first team. But to start off, how have you been? How are you finding lockdown at the minute?
To be honest with you, I'm starting to quite enjoy it. I'm starting to get a bit of a schedule together every day, and I'm quite enjoying it. I'm worried about going back to football, to be honest. I'm starting to enjoy it a little bit too much.
Good for you. I mean, to be honest, you do hear different kind of stories. Some people are kind of really struggling, and other people have taken it as a bit of an opportunity to, like you say, do things that you wouldn't normally do and kind of slow down a little bit.
I'm retired.
Not yet, mate, not yet. I know that you was picked up by Charlton at 9, but by about 12, 13, you moved over to the Arsenal Youth Academy. Just tell us how that kind of came about.
At the time when I was about 12, 13, Charlton got relegated from the Premier League to the Championship, then to the Championship to League One within about 3 years. And the money got completely pulled out of the academy. Lee left, so my goalkeeper coach, who I adored, that I loved working under, had left, and he went to Arsenal. And then when I was still playing up at that time. I was really doing well. Bigger clubs were coming in. I went to Villa on a trial. I went to Liverpool on trial. I went to Chelsea on a trial. Chelsea wanted to sign me, and then Arsenal kind of just happened to quit with them. At the age of 14, it kind of just clicked in, and once in the summer they said, let's come in. Obviously I knew Lee was there, so I already had a big ally there. And then I signed for Arsenal when I was 14. Lee and Brady signed me. I was playing 1 year in the under 15s, and then Lee and Brady come to me and my parents and said to me, we want Ryan to go full time a year early. So year 11, I went full time as if I would be at school. And I'd done my education at Arsenal, but I was training every day with the then scholars, which was a big decision for me because that meant I needed to leave home at the age of 15, which, as you can imagine, for my mum was a big ordeal.
Yeah, of course.
And to this day, I don't think she's still fully recovered. Her son at 15.
From when
for me, it was
hasn't recovered.
excitement.
When you left, or she hasn't recovered from when you came back?
No, I've never gone back. You must be mad.
You locked the door behind you, yeah?
Yeah, it was very hard then. I left home. I moved up here to North London, and I went full time, and it was a big jump from training. All right, I was training maybe 3 or 4 times a week to going full time, and it's just that everyday training. It's I think it's mentally as well as physically. Your body's not used to it being day after day after day after day, 2 hours, 3 hours a day, and it becomes your life. And I really enjoyed being full time. I really enjoyed living in the area of North London.
It's such a big step to kind of go from Margate up to North London to a new club and a new house. Tell me a little bit more about that experience. Like, who was you staying with? How did you feel at the time? How was the club?
I went to a house in Brookhill Road in Barnet, and I was staying with a player called Chris Olsen at that time. But before me at that house, Wojciech Szczesny stayed at that house. Jack Wilshere also stayed at that house. So from the start, from when I first moved up, Wojciech was always coming into the house. So it was already, I was mixing with Wojciech, just started playing for the first team then. He was a lunatic, by the way. And I thought, how is this guy, Arsenal's number one? He was a very, very, he was a very clever guy, actually, Wojciech. And he was an outstanding goalkeeper. And he had a gift. He didn't have to work too hard to be amazing. And he was a very nice guy. But yeah, I went full time then, and it was a big ordeal that the first few years, whilst juggling school with training and trying to be as best as you can as well. And I signed my professional contract at 17. I got offered that by Arsenal, and in that year, 17-18, I got called up. Wojciech had an injury. Wojciech got injured. And David Ospina played the last Champions League game, and he got sent off. So all of a sudden now, Wojciech and David were both out of the picture for the Tuesday night game away at Anderlecht. And then, it clicked into place. Jerry wanted me, the first team goalkeeper coach, wanted me to be on the bench in the Champions League. And we went to Anderlecht. And I'll never forget that game because there was a big bonus in place if we won. And a draw, there was half money of if we would win, and if we lost, you got nothing. So we went out there, and it was an unbelievable experience. Traveling with these like superstars, really, Alexis Sanchez, Mesut Ozil, Lucas Podolski at that time, Per Mertesacker. They'd just won the World Cup that summer before, and now me, 17-year-old from Margate, is going to this Champions League group stage game.
How with you? Sorry, Ryan. How was them players with you, knowing that you'd just been stepped up?
They were absolutely great. Per was brilliant. It's no shock. Per's the academy director. He was absolutely brilliant. Jack was brilliant because I knew Jack before I was mixing with the first team. I kind of knew Jack. Jack kind of helped me along. Emi Martinez was brilliant with me, the other goalie. I speak to him even now. Jono was brilliant with me, making sure I was all right. Vic Akers, the first team kit man. They're real Mr. Arsenal people, and they made it more. How can I say? Make you more feel at home. And we flew the Tuesday afternoon. And we spent the night, and we have to sing an initiation song. Yeah. So I sung "Angels" by Robbie Williams to the whole team, and I remember the boss saying, "I hope he's as good a goalie as he's singer," in his French accent, which
was Arsene kind of privy to them initiations and them kind of fun on the outside? Was part of that?
Yeah, he was.
Because you see him as kind of quite a stern, kind of standoffish manager that you can imagine kind of separates himself from the main group in downtime. But was that how he was, or is that not fair?
He did keep himself aloof at times. But you know what? He was always very approachable. I found him approachable, and he knew everyone's name, and he really went out of his way to know everyone's name, which I found really quite. At the time, you took it for granted, but since I've worked with other managers, and I've heard of new managers that have come in, they don't want to, and I think that's why he was so different and so special, because he really did treat it like his baby, and he wanted everyone to feel comfortable, and he wanted to help everyone. For me, I think he was a real outstanding coach. He was never a screamer and shouter. I'll give you a story of when we played that game, we were 1-0 down at half time, and we were useless. And I thought, and Jono was walking around like banging his head up against the wall, and the boss. And I remember going in at half time thinking he needs to rip into him, because they weren't doing well in the league. They were struggling, and I thought he's going to rip into them here because we didn't even look like scoring. And he just walked up and down for like 12 minutes of the 15-minute half time. The boss just walked up and down. Everyone's rubbing their face, getting their sweat off. No one's really saying anything. It was like a mute in there. And then literally 60 seconds before they went back out, he just said, like, come on, guys, let's keep the tempo high. Let's play above their tempo and play and stretch them. And let's play at the highest level and the quickest we can possibly play. And let's win. And I thought, what's that? I thought, okay. So the second half we went out. Didn't play too well either. 88th minute came. I think Lucas Podolski scored 1-1. So we could score from nothing. I'm thinking, fantastic. So I've not come, it's not been a complete waste of trip. Financially, we have gained something from this. Anyway, 93rd minute, Gibbsy scored far post. And all I thought I was like Jose Mourinho running down the line. That was unbelievable. Yeah, I'll never forget that. That was, I never thought we'd win. And then we scored 2 goals in 5 minutes. And yeah, it was a very happy trip home.
Do you think there was something in his few words that he said that got through, or do you just think it was coincidence?
I don't know. I don't know. All I remember thinking is if it's that easy, you know, it must be that easy. And after the game, it was like he just hugged everyone, and everyone wanted. The thing is with him, for me, looking at him as a coach, is everyone wanted to play for him. Whether or not they believed in his style at times or the way he wanted to do things, they wanted to play for him, and they loved him as a person. You know, he was like that godfather image to all those players he brought in. He did really care. He never said too much, but what he said was very precise, which stuck. You know, some coaches, they over-elaborate. They say so much. And once you get on the pitch, you forget because of how much information you've received. But he was always very to the point and very precise in what he said. I think he gave that freedom element to them, even in the training sessions, the way that they trained. There was always freedom. You know, they used to do playthroughs with mannequins. Jono still does it now with the kids at NCF. That was just for freedom and fluidity, and the boys getting to know each other. And in the final third, you know, when you see those goals that they used to score when there'd be 12 passes in the final third, and then it would literally be walked into the net. That was no fluke. They would practice that 2 or 3 times a week. And yeah, that everyone, he really did have that way about him that everyone wanted to play for him. And I think that's maybe why he even had success in the later years, winning the FA Cups and in one-off games. You know, they were excellent, and that was just because I think everyone did believe in him and wanted to do well for him.
And for yourself as a player, is that really important to know that your manager's behind you and they care about you?
But for the boss, I felt so comfortable in and around him, and because I trained with the first team a lot, it was kind of, I thought, you know what, if I get on, I'll do great. And I had that in my head. There was never no negative thoughts. You know, my career could have been a whole lot different if Emi Martinez would have got injured after half an hour and I'd have gone on and done well. I might not be where I am today. But, you know, that's an experience that I'll never forget. And then in later years, I was so lucky to work with Petr Cech for 3 years. And that for me, I was with them most days for 2 years. I was with the first team near enough every day. And working with him really did show me how to be great, to be one of the best in the world. You really do have to devote your whole entire life to the sport. And he went over and above for me. And that's why he was one of the best goalies probably the Premier League have ever seen. And he really did live his life for that game at 4 o'clock on the Sunday, if that makes sense. Wojciech was a lot different to him. He had to work very hard to be the best. Petr Cech did. Wojciech had a lot more natural ability, and probably abused it a little bit. And that's maybe why Wojciech didn't make it at Arsenal as long as he should have done. Wojciech's way of life was always very up and down. And Petr Cech's way of life was always very steady. And for me, that's why Petr Cech on the pitch is a steady Eddie goalie, very rarely makes high-profile mistakes. And the time when Wojciech was Arsenal, he was very up and down. Even at 35, when I was working with Petr Cech, he still practiced every day like he was 21. He was always trying to better himself, even at the age of 35.
I mean, how important is it for young players coming through the youth team to be able to show coaches that not only have they got the ability, but they've got the dedication, they've got the mindset, they want to learn, and they're serious. And how was you with that side of things as a young player coming through?
So, you know, I've seen players like Huddart, for example, at Arsenal. He was like meant to be the next Thierry Henry. At one point, everyone was saying, "Oh my God, he's going to be unbelievable. Look at the goals he's scoring in the reserves." But he was a real raw talent and a real off his own, out the bat, a great talent. Didn't have the best attitude, you know, didn't always talk well to staff. And that sometimes goes against, you know, it's such a broad thing. Yeah. And he never got the luck. Whereas when I look at Alex Iwobi, Alex was never, ever the best player in his age group. He was a year above me. We used to get the bus, actually, me and Alex, home every day together, the 384 bus from Barnet to Barnet from Cockfosters. And I never thought, getting on the bus with him every day, I never thought Alex is going to be the one that plays in Arsenal's first team and plays all the games for Arsenal, gets through. He was a good player, don't get me wrong, but Alex had the luck. You know, that season when he broke through, that pre-season, they were short. They're coming back from, I think, the World Cup or Euros. I can't remember exactly. So players come back dribs and drabs that pre-season. And the boss needed a midfield player, a wide winger to fill in. And Alex went over with the first team. He had the whole pre-season with them and done really, really well. And slotted in. And I thought, I'd never have thought it. Because there was better players than Alex in the... And that's what I mean by luck. You know, sometimes you just need that little bit of luck. You need that person to believe in you, and the boss did, obviously.
Do you think that was just part of Arsene's nature, that he just liked to see young players do well and he liked to see people get on and achieve?
He's just such a nice man, you know, and for me, at times, maybe in the later years that was detriment because maybe they needed a stronger someone to put them in their place and kick them a little bit more. And I think that dressing room where they had so much success, when I look at Jens and I look at Tony, they were real leaders themselves. They didn't really need managers. And they just needed guidance. You know, if you had a team full of Tonys and a team full of Jens, and those kind of guys, they were just natural winners. And they really did have a knack, like Jens for me. Even playing with him at head tennis, you could really see he just couldn't hack losing at all. Like, it wasn't even on the agenda. And, you know, that's why I can see how they went a whole season unbeaten. Liam Brady was similar, actually. Liam would never call him boss. He'd always call him Arsene. and Liam was aloof as well. But Liam had that similar... Liam, I used to be always real scared of Liam because he used to walk around and he'd just kind of like look through you. But yeah, again, he knew everyone's name and he went about knowing everyone's name. And Liam was a great academy director for me. He really did look out for everyone, and he was a Mr. Arsenal, you know, and he cared so much about that academy and he cared about every player that was under him. And I worry now, not so much now, in the last year, 18 months before under Unai, that they didn't have enough people that really were Arsenal people. And that for me made Arsenal really special, that they had those Arsenal people there, you know, all the backroom staff that you don't really, you know, they're not unsung heroes as such, like Paul, Vic, you know, they're real Arsenal people. and they kind of let them go. And for me, I just feel that it kind of lost its identity a little bit. But now with Mikel there, it's so great to have, I think, Mikel there as manager, because he is an Arsenal man, you know, and he really does care about Arsenal. He's not just there for the success to get that next club, if you know what I mean. He's there a bit like the boss. He'll be there for a long time, I think he will, and he is for Arsenal and the well-being of the Arsenal Football Club. I was lucky when I was there. I worked with Mikel. He was a player at that time. He was our captain. And when I was in and around Champions League time, Mikel was the captain then. And you could really tell by the way he walked around. I remember Jack saying, actually, he'll end up being the manager at Arsenal one day. And, you know, he walked around with a real purpose. And he was always very intense, and he always questioned the boss, and he always said, could you do this? And he was always intense with the players, what he wanted from the players around him. And you could always see, and I can imagine him now. I've spoken to players recently. I saw Rob Holding the other day, actually. I was out on my bike, I saw Rob, and I asked Rob, what's he like? He said he's just so intense, and he calls every other day to see if you're all right. He's been on Zoom calls with all the players, and he really will put his stamp on how he wants Arsenal to play. And I think it's what Arsenal needs. I think it really is what they need right now. I think they will have success. I really do with him. I think they'll be up there again. And you know, I've still got good relationships with them all now. And yeah, I wouldn't change my time there at all, if I'm honest with you. I wouldn't change my time there at all. I had 6 years full time, 6 great years, and I would never change that for the world.
Oh, wicked. Right. Anyway, thanks so much, man. I'm going to leave you to it.
Lovely talk. Yeah, brilliant.
Wicked.
No worries.
All right. Thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
I had a great time, and good luck to all the boys at NCF. Keep going.
Go on the Elites.
See you soon. Come on, the Elites. See you later.
Nice one. Cheers. Bye. Always a pleasure to talk to Ryan. He articulates himself so well with a real eye for detail as well, and he's full of stories, and he's very observational with his time, his memories, and when he relays it to you, he really wants to make sure that you understand what he's saying. And I love that about him. So thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned. We've got more Q&As coming up. Some roundtable discussions, highlights from the Coaches Cup so far. Thanks for watching and stay safe. See you next time.